What is going on out there, peeps? All right, let's kind of get back into what's going on over in Iraq since yesterday was a pretty busy day, given that we had elections and all the drama that comes along with it. People all around the world were monitoring this elections with a lot of hopes and prayers. So we'll see what comes of it. We definitely know there's a lot of interesting things, and you should not be surprised. A lot of interesting things popping up that lead to what we know as fraud. But if you say anything about it, people say, oh, that's just your excuse because Trump lost. No, no, no. It's legitimate fraud. We were reporting it all day long. And before this presidential election, in the other elections, there were lots of frauds. But let's get back into what's going on to Iraq. Let's touch bases on what is going on the Iraqi scene. All right, you guys, if you're thinking about buying precious metals, now is the time, of course. The prices are still running pretty horizontal. And so, this is a good time to add to your stack. If you're a first-time buyer and you buy more than $100 worth of precious metals, use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and you will get a free half ounce of silver. As many of you know, we're still in a political prison over there in Facebook. Even more and more people are still getting booted off now as people start reporting what is happening around the nation as far as news coming out of all the different fraud. Okay? So they're booting you guys off. They're booting us off. But anyways, you can catch them over here on Twitter. The link is in the description. If for whatever reason I get kicked off there and or YouTube, you guys can catch me over here in the GESARA Club. The link is in the description, so I encourage you to come join now. Just scroll down like this until you see my profile. You can click it, and when it opens in here, they had downloaded all the videos that I've done, so feel free to share them or watch them here or share them on these different platforms. All right, it's free to join. I encourage you guys to join a newsletter because as I go through, and if something should happen to me and I inform them what platforms I'm on, they will be able to share these platforms with you. Share with you on what platforms I am now on, okay? So, let's get into the news. So, what have we been dealing with over the last, couple weeks now? It seems like everything else kind of fell to the side, and we've been focused on salaries and borrowing and possible bankruptcies. Yes. There was another report out by Bloomberg. If they don't do something here soon, Iraq is about to go bankrupt, which is interesting considering all the new agreements that they've been signing with countries around their local neighborhoods. So the future looks very bright for Iraq, but they need to do something about the now. So here's what they've done. A decisive agreement that solves the crisis, passing the borrowing law and launching salaries next Monday. Thank God. So our source, of course, tells the news that the fiscal deficit law, or what is called the borrowing law, will be passed next Monday within the House of Representatives. The salaries will be dispersed on the same day that the vote on the law submitted by the Ministry of Finance is done. The data come after the government and Parliament agreed to proceed with the legislation and the law and to solve the crisis of late salaries without disclosing the conditions for passing the law or the exact amount borrowing. You guys remember this. We want to avoid external borrowing. They need to do internal borrowing. External borrowing is bad. And the reason for that is we don't want them to be dealing with the IMF at all, nor the World Bank. So anyways, where are we at here? So it is scheduled for the House of Representatives will hold a session next Saturday after the inclusion of the discussion of reading paragraphs of the fiscal deficit financing law on its agenda. So, okay, good. It sounds to me like they got this thing taken care of. We'll know for sure next week. But as you can see, here they are. Now, these guys got a cheesy smile. They always look happy together, even though people swear up and down that they oppose one another. But anyways, the Parliament government agreed to pass a law paving the way for the disbursements of the salaries. So again, these are just more articles. But on the other one, it said they didn't disclose how much. But here it just says last month the Iraq government sent a draft law to borrow 41 trillion dinars, about 34 billion US dollars, to Parliament for approval, with the aim of financing the deficit and paying employee salaries for the remaining months of this year. I think that's really what's going on. Iraq just needs to figure out how to get through this year. As economies start to open up, this is good. There will be more demand, in my opinion, on oil as people start to travel. Right now, oil prices are taking a severe hit. Obviously, in my opinion, it also depends on who does end up winning our election here. Because if Biden wins, they want, the great reset lockdowns until everything is crushed and that you accept universal basic income and they push the Green New Deal. Okay? So anyways, it goes on. Parliament and the government have agreed to approve the borrowing law during the Parliament session next Monday. We know about this. We will keep an eye on it. This law comes to secure legal cover for the government, given that Iraq did not approve a budget for the year 2020 due to the decline in financial revenues, due to the decline in oil prices globally, due to the consequences of the Rona. Again, on here, it's talking about set a date for the borrowing. The financial laws, we know about it. We just read about it. I told you it's like one article after another. Another article saying the same thing. The Iraq government announces a move towards Parliament to pass a law of fiscal deficit and paying the salaries. Again, it's the same thing. So here's something that I think is good. And I told you that, they should have been doing this. So Kurdistan region stops the salaries of more than 16,000 people. This is what should be done for all people getting paid, an audit. So the Supreme Committee for Biometrics, which I'm not a fan of, and the Kurdistan regional government announced on Tuesday the suspension of salaries for more than 16,000 people for illegally receiving them. These people need a perp walk, man. I'm telling you, you got to perp walk them. A statement of the committee by the Supreme Committee stated by the Supreme Committee for the implementation of the second phase of the biometrics held. Again, biometrics, for you people who don't know, this is the Great Reset. They want everybody with their fingerprints. Everything you do is by fingerprints. Everything you do is there's an entire file on you, a digital file that they monitor. This is getting way too out of hand. That's invading our privacy way too much. Okay? Held a second meeting under the supervision of the Deputy of the Prime Minister. Anyways, the statement indicated that the coordination and the follow-up department and the Information Technology Department presented during the meeting and based on statistics and biometric database, a report on the multiplicity of salaries, noting that according to the report, 106,839 people earned more than one salary, most of which were organized according to the law. But the statement added that the following up on the file of those salary recipients, it appears that 16,505 people received more than one salary illegally. Remember, that's one of the things that Iraq needs to address, the fact that some people get more than one salary. And because of that, it's a huge strain on the government, and they're paying out way more money than they should. These people need to have the perp walk. They realize what they're doing. A lot of that corruption was set up by a lot of these corrupt officials. Their family members were getting more than one salary. Parliament sends the election law to the presidency for approval. Good. We know that since October. They have already passed all the laws. We just need to get it signed and implement it into place. The issue with the laws that people were having, it was the reduction of power within Parliament. Some of these people did not want to give up their control their power within the government, and so there was some resistance. But it looks like everything is ironed out. We know June coming up here, June the 6th, will be the early elections. This is going to be huge news for Iraq, depending on the results. The governor of the central bank is conducting a field visit to a number of exchange companies, which is good. You know what I mean? Talk about surprise visits. So, I think they announced them, but nonetheless, today, Tuesday, or I should say yesterday, the governor of the Central Bank of Iraq conducted a field visit that included a number of brokerage firms selling and buying foreign currencies on both ends of Baghdad. The governor had a committee specialized in auditing companies from the banking supervision department at the central banks. The statement of the bank media office received by the news, of course, workflow and their dealings with the beneficiaries of the citizens. He also listened to the notes and suggestions of the owners of the companies and promised to study them by the bank and activate their outputs in a way that reflects positively on the work of the Iraq financial and economic sectors. So again, these exchange centers were a way of people laundering money, and they were financed terrorism. But they've been implementing some policies and procedures to try to do away with that, to be able to identify things that are shady or nefarious long ahead of times. Okay. So this is interesting. So the agreements of Jordan and Iraq were left behind by Washington to strike the Chinese agreement. So remember, um, Iran had struck a huge deal with China, wanted to turn over their country, literally to China is what they wanted to do, and turn them into a big spying hub all over the Middle East. Well, they've also contacted Iraq. This would give Iraq all the money that they needed. It would take them out of this crisis the whole 9 yards. So what has happened? As you guys are well aware of. So on Monday, the moves of Al-Qademi to Jordanian Egyptian investments, which are an American plan to end any hope of the Chinese agreements entirely on one side and hit the Iranian economy on the other. The Iraq-Chinese agreement is the best economic case for Iraq over the recent decades, and it can revive the Iraqi economy. Except for the problem is, when you agree to go deal with China, they know you can't pay back the loans, and basically they get you to turn over your ports and allow them to put in all kinds of spy equipment. We know this. I talked about it in other videos. It says Washington is not convinced of the Chinese agreements, as Al-Qademi's government moves towards contracting investments with Jordan, Egypt, through the two sides do not have any companies comparable with the Chinese companies. The purpose of this agreement is to strike at the Chinese agreement and end it completely, noting that another goal is to strike the Iranian economy by eliminating the economic friendship between Iraq, China, and Iran. We'll see. We'll keep our fingers crossed. I think a lot of this has to do, again, with this election. Now, this is a biggie, and I told you it was coming. I wish it had came a little sooner, but nonetheless, the discovery of a surprise regarding a normalization of Iraq with Israel. I told you another one of these people jumping on this peace agreement is going to be Iraq. The Iraq politicians close to the U.S. administration revealed on Monday new details which carried a surprise regarding the discussions that the Iraq government delegation had conducted during its recent European tour regarding the normalizations between Baghdad and Tel Aviv. The official Iraqi delegation, which recently conducted a European tour, listened and discussed the issues of normalizations between Iraq and Israel. So again, this is good. This is more peace in the Middle East. Iraq talking about joining the Abraham Accord. We already knew they were going to do this along with other countries. It'd have been nice if they did it sooner, but we'll see. The official Iraq delegation sent a message to the world that we want normalization between Baghdad and Tel Aviv. Again, do you understand that these agreements that they have in peace in the Middle East cause great harm and issue to this globalist agenda who wants Iran to take over the Middle East and control it altogether? The more these Arab countries keep signing on to these peace agreements, this is just them slipping out of the grip for now of the globalist agenda. So we will see where it leads. This is great news, of course, and it's happening under the Trump administration. All right, this is good news. Okay, so right now it's good. They're passing a law. They're doing internal borrowing. They're going to be able to pay their salaries. They need to do what they can to survive at least to the end of this year. We're just kind of figuring out what's going on as far as our elections are concerned, because that does have a big impact on what's going on over there. The Arab nations all agreeing to get on a peace accord and do internal business with one another, allowing outside investors to come in and make each other's countries better and start rebuilding the Middle East altogether is great news, you guys, okay? So, again, it's all good, but we really need to keep an eye on what's going on with our crap over here, because a lot of that's happening there is due to what our administration is here. So we'll keep an eye on that. That's where we are for now. I just wanted to give you a quick update. And so let me know what you guys think. Hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I surely do appreciate it, and I'll catch you later.